Yes, we can, and we will. I'd like to welcome to the stage Shelley Glue, who is willing to share her story with us tonight. Shelley?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to be here tonight to talk to you about the Idaho Food Bank. It's something very near and dear to my heart. I recall vividly the first time I ever visited the Idaho Food Bank. I was an 18-year-old single mother with a 1-year-old son. The food bank occupied the same building where I was enrolled in the trade school. I stood in line and I cried. I was ashamed. I was raised the daughter of a farming family, folk who stood on their own 2 feet, always, folks who believed in pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. When my son was born, my family condemned me. They said I would never be anything but a welfare mother. Standing in that line, I was terrified that I was fulfilling that prophecy. A sweet elderly lady volunteer noticed my distress and asked me what was wrong. I told her and she replied, "I think it's better to accept help than to watch our children suffer for our mistakes." Then she hugged me. I left that day with a box of simple food and feeling much better. Despite my mistakes, my son would not go hungry. It took me some time, but I finally found something that I was good at and could provide my family with a decent living. I opened a daycare. Within a year, the business was wildly successful, and we left welfare behind. However, I never forgot the kindness of the food bank. Working in daycare, I soon recognized that many of the children I cared for were only eating the meals I provided during the day. Those single mothers were struggling just as I struggled. I vowed to do something to help. I created my own food bank in my garage. I set up a freezer and lined my walls with shelves, and I filled those shelves with nutritious food, boxed goods, canned goods, anything I could get my hands on. And when a client asked me for help, I happily filled the box and sent them home to feed their children. Things continued this way for almost 10 years, but eventually I decided it was time to leave an unhappy marriage. The divorce cost me everything. I lost my home, my credit was ruined, and I found myself in my mid-30s starting life all over again. I soon remarried, and for a time we kept our little family above water until the economy took a nosedive in late 2007. One day I opened the door to the refrigerator and it was empty. It was as empty as my bank account. There was nothing in there and I had no way to fill it. It's a horrible feeling not being able to take care of your family. I cried again. This time though, I wasn't ashamed. We were doing all we could do. These were tears of frustration. I knew where to go for help. I went back to my old friend, the Idaho Food Bank. I then began to make important changes in my family's life. I returned to college in the evenings after 14-hour workdays, determined to get an education to help stabilize our situation. It's taken far longer than I ever hoped it would. It's hard to juggle an academic career, family, and a small business. There are times when we've had to rely on public assistance to get by, and times when a car repair, an illness, or a super expensive $400 textbook sent me back to my friend. It's been a struggle. Poverty or a lack of resources always makes things harder, but we just kept at it. College, though difficult and stressful, has also been a blessing. While in school, I was given the opportunity to repay the food bank and its kindness through a service learning program. College had given me a voice. And so I wrote a letter of thanks to my old friend, the Idaho Food Bank, which they published in their monthly newsletter. It was well received and repeated many times. I was so nervous to share my personal experiences with the world that way, but it felt so good to give back. I was very proud of myself. I've been writing and speaking about the Idaho Food Bank and speaking out against issues of hunger and poverty ever since. No one should go hungry, ever. The Idaho Food Bank hasn't just fed my family, It's fed my hopes and dreams and helped me find my purpose and my voice. As I stand here this evening, I'm a few credits short of completing my master's degree, and I'm on the verge of publishing my first book. And I can tell you that I owe much of my success to the Idaho Food Bank. Because of the food bank, I was never forced to choose between feeding my family or achieving my dreams. Because of the Idaho Food Bank, I know there is no shame in asking for help. Everyone needs help now and then. And because of the Idaho Food Bank, I know how to use my voice to help others. I owe my old friend more than I can ever hope to repay. And with your help tonight and throughout the year, the Idaho Food Bank can continue this important work of feeding the hungry, because it's impossible to achieve a dream if you're hungry. Thank you.